This is the Transcend in Life podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson, taking you from fear to freedom.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to a Tuesday tune-up with the Ryersons. I am J.M. Ryerson, and to my left is...
Lisa Ryerson.
Good morning, my dear. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I'm doing good. You know, before we get into the subject matter, I want to go ahead and just talk about intention for a second, just because you have made a declaration and intention lately that I so greatly appreciate. What would that be, my love?
So every morning, my intention is to wake up and to be nice to you.
I appreciate that, by the way. And you know, it's funny. People might be like, well, of course, but does it help by truly being intentional?
It does, because sometimes I forget to be nice to you. And I don't mean to be, but things, it happens. Especially you take things out on the people that are closest to you, that you love the most. And when I'm frustrated or stressed out, that comes out on you, unfortunately. And so now I'm working on not doing that and being nice.
Well, part of what I think, and this will segue perfectly into what I want to talk about today, which is it's okay, let it go. And part of what that means and why I think this is so applicable is if you're bringing in that baggage to, let's just say I made a mistake, which I can't imagine that I've ever made one.
Never.
But the resentment, the buildup from things that I have done or had done, or again, the most recent one is buying a dog. When you get frustrated, you're like, you bought this dog, or moving across the country, and that'll pop up. The point of today is talking about letting that stuff go so that it doesn't show up and pop up in your daily activities, because so frequently what you're saying in the present moment has nothing to do with what just happened in the present moment, but rather is what happened last week, yesterday, a year ago. So that's what I want to talk about today, which is it's okay, let it go. So thoughts, since I've been going for a little bit, and you're giving me a little bit of the stink eyes. So what are your thoughts on this?
No, I think it is really important. Of course, sometimes I forget to let it go. But I really think, what pops up in my head is when somebody has done you wrong, right? And I'm not talking about you, JM. You would never do me wrong.
That's correct.
But there's, sometimes somebody might have offended you, or you just wasn't very nice, and you hold on to that. Well, who is that really hurting? Right? At the end of the day, that's hurting yourself, because you're holding that grudge. You have all that negative energy inside of you. And it's really, it's easier said than done. But once you can forgive that person or to let that go, it actually really just releases you. It frees you up. And I think that's really important, because you don't want to be holding on to that negative baggage all the time.
Yeah, the whole concept of I'm forgiving you, it's really not, so we're clear, it's not for the other person. It is for you to say, when you forgive, now you're releasing that, because here's the deal. You can't change the past. Have you changed anything in your past ever? Have you ever changed something that you've done previously?
No, but I've tried. I've tried really hard.
And you're not alone, right? So often people want to right the wrongs that they did. And I get that. Like, look, trying to make the world a better place, which we will talk about. I'm all for that. Like, I screwed up in a previous life, or I screwed up last year, and now I am driven to absolutely show up as the best version of myself every single day. I like that. I'm cool with that. But my point is trying to change the past. So frequently when I dig in with people into their mindset, they're harboring things about a mistake someone made, a mistake they made. And then one of the biggest things, and this is for everybody, you cannot change the past. Let it go so that you can have a brighter future, or certainly a brighter present today. So I'm just curious to kind of get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. it's impossible to change the past. However, whichever way you look at it. And it is really important is saying, okay, now I'm at this point, what can I do differently to move forward? I think that's really powerful because it's, if you continue to harbor on that, you're never going to move forward. You're just going to get stuck there and become the victim. And trust me, I have been in that situation many a times, right? It's like you have regrets or you have guilt on things that have happened or things that you've done or things that other people have done. And it's like, well, there's nothing we can do about it now. What can we do to make it better in the future, right? Moving forward.
Yeah, one of the things I think people are scared to say, I've been the victim. Everyone, so we're clear, me, you, everyone listening to this has and will continue, will act as a victim. It is human nature. That's okay. And I'm giving you permission right now to say, yes, you're going to want to act like a victim sometimes and be like, yeah, but it's really not my fault. That's just human nature. This is your chance right now to say, that's okay. I screwed up. Let's just not do it often. And I guess the best way I can the best analogy I've used, I think, is we have currency, emotional currency. And every time that you're spending your currency, you're depleting that, right? It's not a limitless amount of emotional currency that you have. So my point to that is if you're spending a bunch of energy and emotional currency on something that happened in the past that you can't change, how can you possibly show up as the best version of you today? Similarly, how can I spend a bunch of emotional currency on future things that are going to come? How can I show up as the best version of myself? Now, this is the controversial saying I use that piss people off all the time, but it's past equals pain, future equals anxiety, present is everything. And when you really think about that, if you think about that statement, it doesn't mean that everything in your past sucks. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're reminiscing back to how great it was back in high school, what you're telling yourself is, man, my life's kind of shitty right now. That's what pops up. So if you can use that saying, and I'm curious to get your thoughts because I know you've sat on the other fence and said, I disagree with that saying, but that has always helped me with that emotional currency to say, I can't change the past and I can't change the future technically. I can only show up as the best version of me right now.
Yeah, it's taken me a long time to grasp that saying for sure. And after, digging into it for months, not my choice to, but I have been forced to. It totally makes sense to me now, right? I mean, you can do things now to have a better future. But harping on the past or always, and it's not a bad thing because there's great memories in the past for sure, right? There's always like, oh, remember when we went on that amazing trip? That's great. Hey, let's do it again, right? So it's in context, I feel. I think it's perspective on how you look at that. But yeah, it's definitely something that I've embraced now.
One of the analogies or visualizations that we've done in the past is if you imagine yourself for a second, so close your eyes and imagine yourself walking up a hill. And as you're walking up that hill, you pick up the rock. And that rock is something that you put in that backpack because that's a life experience. And as you continue up the walk up the hill, you continue to put more rocks in your backpack. Well, eventually the bag becomes so heavy that you can't walk up that hill anymore. And this analogy always made so much sense to me. Stop for a moment. Take out that rock. Let go of that past, whatever that was. Let that shit go and watch how much it starts to release. I can feel it. I don't know if you guys actually close your eyes, but if you do this for yourself, if you literally take the rock out of your backpack, and that is that baggage, whatever that thing that has happened to you, it literally is a freeing moment. And I feel it every time, even doing that very small, because that's you can drone and on about going up this hill. You can really feel it. You feel lighter. It's crazy. So you've done it. Did you do it right there? Did anything change for you?
Yeah. I feel a lot lighter. I mean, I'm hoping that when I go on the scale upstairs that I've lost a few pounds. You think that could happen if I continue to do it? I'm just kidding.
No, it's, I know you're saying that in jest, but the truth is yes. And here's why. When you're bringing that negative stuff, that's plain and simple. That's especially the negativity. That's inflammation. So it is crazy to think you can literally create your body to be unhealthy with these negative thoughts, with these negative memories. So you say it funny, but truth is, if you let all that stuff go, if you forgave and got rid of all of that stuff, truth be told is yes. Not maybe directly like taking a rock out of your backpack and now all of a sudden you're 5 pounds lighter, but long term, absolutely. Absolutely, your body will shrink in terms of being inflamed. People don't think that's just see what happens to your body. See what happens. It'll literally heat up when you think of these negative things. That is inflammation, people. So yes, sorry to totally sidetrack there, but yeah, you can lose weight. And lastly, the idea of the energy. When you're taking focus and energy towards negative, do you usually build something positive?
Yes and no.
Okay, go ahead. Explain.
So an example I think is, so when we're watching TJ play tennis, and I've seen this many a times, where he's not playing well in a match and then he gets pissed, like super pissed. But then and we know because we're like, oh, good, he's mad now, right? And then all of a sudden he just kills it, right? So that turns into positive. I don't know if I'm in the right line of what you're, getting across, the point you're trying to get across. But I see that. But typically on other things, no. If you go down that negative path, it just continues. It's kind of like a snowball, right? Going down the hill, and it just keeps on getting worse and worse and worse. An example of that would be it's happened to me many a times. And I truly believe it's the universe telling me okay, Lisa, like you're going down a bad path. You need to stop. Right. And it literally has happened. So for example, this was years and years ago. Kind of woke up on the wrong side of the bed, was super negative. I think you were out of town. And I took the kids to a birthday party. The kids were really little. I mean, it was just, they were all over the place. Our youngest had just gotten this, I think they had a Fitbit. I don't know what it was. But anyways, he lost it. So I was really upset and we had to go back to the party, find it in some pit of some sort. But anywho, it was like one thing after another, right? I was just getting more and more and more and more angry. And we're driving nowhere and slams into us. Right. And I just went, oh my goodness. Okay. Really, these little things that have been happening all morning, like a toddler running around or losing something, is really not a big deal in the big scheme of things. And I was making it into such a big deal because I was in such a bad mood. And it literally took something that extravagant to stop me in my tracks and go, you know what? We're healthy. Kids are safe. We almost got killed. Let's put things in perspective and shift our mindset for the time.
Here's the one that'll really twist your noodle is the truth is you attracted that car to you. That's the crazy. Yeah. You really want to get into it because everything's shit and it's just the worst day ever. Guess what? You're going to bring that to yourself. Yep. And people don't want to hear that, but that's facts. That 100%, I'm going to give that to Drew. Drew, that's facts, bro. But going back to TJ for a second, just because we loved using our sons as, the examples, but here's where you're correct, where I've watched it work, but here's where it doesn't work as well. When he takes that anger and utilizes it towards beating his opponent, towards literally hitting, having more focus on that shot, towards giving his very, very best, you're right. That anger does translate into fuel in a positive way. Now check this out, and you've watched this. When he directs that anger at himself, i.e., I suck, I'm not playing well, guess what happens? Sprays balls, it's literally ball in the net, ball long, and he plays like crap.
Right.
So you're right. but you have to be able to channel that so it's not ever directed towards you. And I guess that's a great way to kind of end this whole idea is, look, you guys, we all make mistakes, 100%. I promise you, I'm going to make a mistake today. Let it go. Try to do better the next time, but don't bring that stuff in to the next thing to where you're literally attracting a car to hit you. Like, I don't believe in coincidences. I really don't. I believe if you were in a better space that day, you would have seen that car and you would have stopped prior, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, freak accidents happen. But in this instance, I don't believe it did. So I don't know. This is a subject I'm very passionate about because for people to show up as their best version of them, you can't be bringing that negativity to the table. So I'd like to hear how people do let it go. I mean, whether it's hiking, meditation, beating the shit out of a heavy bag, which used to be my play for a long time. How can they share that with us?
Yeah, so definitely email us at info@letsgowin.com and check us out on all the social media channels, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. We're now on Twitter at Let's Go Win 365.
Yeah, I want to leave you with this just because I found this quote and I just think it's awesome. Leave who you were, love who you are, look forward to who you will become. I just thought that was really cool. So you guys, love yourself ultimately and let that shit go. I said the S word quite a few on this episode. I get really passionate about this.
I think you're letting stuff go yourself.
Maybe I am. I'm letting some stuff go so I can show up in the present moment. No, man, I really hope everybody takes that seriously. So until next time, you guys continue to transcend in life. Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to transcendinlifepodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Transcend in Life podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson, taking you from fear to freedom.